Steel clashed against bone, and the chained Highlander lunged. Even with iron biting into his wrists, he slammed his shoulder into the guard's chest hard enough to send the man sprawling into the mud. The crowd roared, some in delight, some in outrage. A whip cracked through the cold evening air. "On your knees, beast," the auction master bellowed. The Highlander did not kneel. Blood streaked down the side of his face. One eye was swelling shut, but the other, sharp, burning, glowed like molten amber beneath the torchlight. When the whip struck again, he caught it midair despite the shackles and snarled, low and lethal. From the edge of the crowd, Elspeth Rowan felt that snarl in her bones. "Savage animal," a woman beside her scoffed. "He'll fetch a good price for the mines." Elspeth's fingers tightened around the small pouch hidden beneath her cloak. That pouch carried every silver coin she had left in the world. Meant for winter grain. Meant for her son. But she couldn't look away. The whip cracked again. This time the Highlander staggered. Blood dripped into the dirt. Yet he still refused to bow his head. The auction master spat. Captured near the northern passes. Refused to name his clan. Strong as an ox. Wild as a wolf. Who will start the bidding? A murmur rolled through the crowd. Elspeth swallowed. She hadn't come for this. She had come for dried herbs confiscated from Highland villages. Quietly, carefully, without drawing attention. A witch survived by remaining invisible. But something ancient stirred under her ribs. The Highlander lifted his head and looked straight at her. Not past her. At her. His gaze sharpened. The torches flickered. For the briefest moment, she swore his pupils narrowed like a predator's. Her breath caught. 20 silver, a heavy-set merchant called. 30, another barked. The numbers rose like hammer blows. Elspeth's heart pounded in her ears. "Don't be foolish. You have a child. You have no protection. You owe him nothing." The Highlander jerked violently as another guard slammed the butt of a spear into his back. He still did not kneel. 40 silver. The crowd laughed when the prisoner nearly fell. Elspeth stepped forward before she realized she was moving. 50. The word tore from her throat like it belonged to someone else. Silence spread outward in a stunned ripple. The auction master blinked. 50 silver from the hooded lady. Heads turned. Some recognized her. Some didn't. But they all saw the faded cloak. The worn boots. Not a noble. Not a merchant. Lady Isolde Kerr, draped in velvet and arrogance, tilted her head from her raised platform. "Well now," she purred. "Even witches fancy pets." Heat crawled up Elspeth's spine. She did not respond. "Do I hear 60? The auction master demanded. No one answered. The Highlander's golden gaze never left her face. The master slammed his staff down. "Sold." The chains were thrust into her hands. They were warm. Too warm. As she pulled him forward, he stumbled, towering over her, even wounded. Up close, he was massive. Shoulders broad. Chest cut with bruises and scars. Power radiated from him like a storm barely contained. "Why?" His voice was rough, low, dangerous. Elspeth did not look up. "Because you would not kneel." He studied her, breathing hard. "You should have left me," he muttered. "Perhaps," she replied. "But I did not." The crowd jeered as she led him away. "Enjoy your beast, witch. Hope he doesn't bite." Lady Isolde's laughter followed them into the dark. They barely made it beyond the torchlight before the Highlander staggered. His knees buckled. Elspeth barely managed to keep him upright. "You are bleeding too much," she whispered. "Leave me," he growled again, but the strength was fading from his voice. She dragged him toward the narrow path leading into the hills. The wind cut across the moors, carrying the scent of heather and distant rain. Each step felt heavier. "You paid too much," he rasped after a moment. "You were undervalued," she replied quietly. A breath of something like amusement escaped him. Then he collapsed. Elspeth cursed under her breath. It took every ounce of strength she possessed to half carry, half drag him to her small stone cottage near the loch. By the time she shoved the door open, her arms were trembling. "Mother," a small voice whispered from the shadows. "It is all right, Finian," she called softly. "Stay back." Her son peeked from behind the curtain, wide-eyed at the sight of the bloody giant sprawled across their floor. "Is he dead?" "No," she said firmly. "Not yet." She locked the door and dropped to her knees beside the Highlander. Up close, the wounds were worse than she thought. Lash marks crisscrossed his back. A deep cut split his side. He shouldn't be alive. She placed her palm over the worst of it. Warmth answered. Not fever. Power. Her breath hitched. This was no ordinary man. She hesitated only a moment before whispering the old words. Silver light flickered beneath her skin and poured into his wound. The air thickened. The fire in the hearth flared violently. Finian gasped. "Mama, it's all right," she murmured, though she wasn't certain. The Highlander's body arched suddenly. A guttural sound ripped from his chest, not pain. Something else. Something primal. His bones shifted. She jerked her hand back. A crack echoed in the small cottage. His shoulders broadened unnaturally. Fingers flexed, nails sharpening for a heartbeat before snapping back. Elspeth stared. "You are no man," she whispered. His eyes snapped open. Gold blazed. He grabbed her wrist with terrifying speed, dragging her closer despite his injuries. "What are you?" he demanded hoarsely. The question should have frightened her. Instead, she met his burning gaze. "Someone who just saved your life." For a long moment, they stared at one another, breath mingling, tension thick as smoke. Then his grip loosened. His body trembled violently, and he collapsed into unconsciousness once more. Elspeth exhaled shakily. She had not bought a man. She had bought something far more dangerous. Outside, thunder rolled across the highlands. And somewhere deep within the wounded warrior's chest, something ancient began to wake. His body went rigid again before she could pull away. A low, feral growl rumbled from his chest, vibrating against her palm. The air inside the cottage seemed to tighten, pressing against the walls as though something vast was trying to push through. "Mother," Finian whispered. "Go to the back room," Elspeth ordered, not taking her eyes off the man on the floor. "Now." The boy hesitated only a heartbeat before obeying. The Highlander's breathing turned ragged. His muscles strained beneath torn fabric. For one terrifying moment, his spine arched as if something inside him were trying to break free. "Elspeth," he muttered. She froze. She had never told him her name. His eyes snapped open. Gold flooded the room. He surged upward, faster than a wounded man had any right to move, and his hand caught her waist, dragging her against him. She gasped, bracing herself against his chest. He smelled of blood and pine and something wild. "You smell of magic," he rasped, nose brushing her throat. "Old magic. And you smell of iron and stubbornness," she shot back, though her pulse hammered violently. His lips pulled back, revealing teeth too sharp to be entirely human. "You should fear me. I paid for you," she said steadily. "You are under my roof." For a moment, something like shock flickered in his expression. Then the fever took him. His head dipped, pressing into the curve of her shoulder. His grip tightened, not to harm, but to anchor himself. "Elspeth," he breathed again, as if testing the name. "How do you know that?" she demanded. He did not answer. Instead, his hand slid to her shoulder, and then pain exploded through her. His teeth sank into her flesh. It was not savage, not controlled, instinctive. She cried out, but the sound twisted into something breathless as heat surged from the bite straight into her veins. Not pain, fire, lightning, a pulse that shot from her shoulder to her heart and down her spine. Silver light burst from her skin. The cottage windows rattled violently. He groaned against her, gripping her tighter as though drowning. Something inside her answered. Her fingers dug into his hair. She could feel his heartbeat pounding in her chest like it was her own. The mark burned. Then he went limp. Elspeth shoved him away, stumbling backward. Her shoulder throbbed violently, heat radiating from the fresh wound. But when she looked down, it was already healing. Not entirely, but enough to leave behind a faint, glowing crescent mark where his teeth had pierced. "What have you done?" she whispered. The Highlander lay motionless, breathing heavily but alive. Her entire body trembled. She pressed her hand to the mark. It pulsed back. Finian crept out again, eyes wide. "Mama, you're glowing." She forced her breathing to steady. "It will pass." But it did not pass. All through the night, she felt it. A pull, a thread between them. Every time he shifted in his sleep, her body reacted. Every time his breath deepened, warmth curled in her stomach. Just before dawn, his eyes opened again. This time, they were clear. Still gold, but aware. He took in the room instantly. The hearth, the narrow windows, the small table, the boy watching from the shadows. And finally, her. His gaze dropped to her shoulder. He went still. "Who marked you?" he demanded sharply. "You did," she replied. He sat up too quickly and winced, clutching his side. "No. You bit me," she said flatly. His jaw tightened. In delirium, he muttered. The fever. That does not change what happened. He looked at her shoulder again. The faint silver crescent gleamed under the morning light. His face darkened. I did not give consent to such a bond, she continued, lifting her chin. His gaze snapped to hers. Bond, you tell me what this is. He stood slowly, towering over her despite his injuries. The movement made Finian shrink back. The Highlander noticed. His expression shifted, something protective flickered. Come here, lad, he said quietly. Finian did not move. Elspeth stepped between them. You will not frighten him. I would never harm a child, he replied sharply. The authority in his voice filled the room. She crossed her arms. Then explain. He looked at her shoulder again. A mating mark, he said at last. The words landed like a stone. She stared at him. You claim that biting me while half-conscious binds us in marriage. It is not marriage, he growled. It is deeper. I did not agree. Neither did I, he shot back. Silence crackled between them. Finian's small voice cut through it. Are you a monster? The Highlander's eyes softened slightly as he looked at the boy. Yes, he said honestly. But not the kind that eats children. Elspeth nearly laughed despite herself. Who are you, she pressed. He hesitated. Then he straightened, even wounded, and the air in the cottage seemed to bend around him. Caelan Drummuir, he said. Sovereign of Clan Drummuir. The name struck her like lightning. Even in hiding, she had heard whispers of that clan. Warriors. Wolves. Unyielding. You are a king? She asked incredulously. He held her gaze. Yes. She stared at the man she had dragged through mud with her last coins. I bought a king at auction, she murmured. You bought a war, he corrected. Before she could respond, he stiffened. His head turned toward the door. What is it? She demanded. He inhaled sharply. My pack. Her heart dropped. How far? Close. A distant howl echoed across the hills. Finian gasped. Elspeth's pulse thundered. If they think I harmed you. They will not, Caelan cut in. You cannot promise that. He stepped closer, towering over her again. They will kneel, he said with quiet certainty. And if they do not, his gaze burned. Then I will make them. Another howl, closer this time. Elspeth swallowed. Her shoulder flared suddenly with heat. Caelan's eyes dropped to it. The bond awakens, he muttered. I do not want it. His jaw tightened. Neither did I, he admitted. The door rattled as something slammed against it from outside. Finian screamed. Elspeth's power surged instinctively, silver light crawling over her fingers. The door burst open. 3 massive Highland warriors filled the doorway. Their eyes glowed gold. They inhaled sharply. And then, one by one, they dropped to their knees. Alpha, the first said, bowing his head. Caelan did not look at them. His gaze remained fixed on Elspeth. But his voice changed, deep, commanding, absolute. Rise. They obeyed instantly. The second warrior's nostrils flared. His eyes shifted to Elspeth, and then to the mark on her shoulder. Shock rippled across his face. Alpha, she bears your mark. I am aware, Caelan said coldly. The third warrior's expression darkened. She is not of our blood. Elspeth felt the shift instantly. Tension. Judgment. Her silver light flickered again. Caelan stepped forward slightly, blocking their view of her. She saved my life, he said evenly. Silence. She is bound to you. The first warrior said carefully. Yes. That makes her ours. The words landed heavily. Elspeth's stomach twisted. I belong to no one, she said sharply. All 3 warriors looked at her. Caelan's lips twitched faintly. Bold, he murmured. I am not joining your clan, she continued. You were injured. I healed you. That is all. The silver mark flared brighter. All 4 men inhaled sharply. Caelan's expression shifted from controlled to concerned. Your power, he said quietly. It is reacting. What is happening to me? She demanded. His voice lowered. The bond is awakening what sleeps in your blood. Her veins burned. The room seemed to tilt. The third warrior stepped forward. Alpha, this is dangerous. I know. Silver light burst from her skin. Finian cried out. Caelan moved instantly, catching her as her knees buckled. Stay with me, he ordered. I did not choose this, she gasped. His grip tightened. Neither did I. Outside, the wind howled louder. And somewhere far off, the sound of distant horns began to echo across the highlands. The horns did not belong to wolves. They were Lowland. Sharp. Metallic. Organized. Caelan's head snapped toward the hills. His expression shifted from concern to lethal focus in a heartbeat. They tracked me, he muttered. One of his warriors stepped forward. We wiped the scent trail, Alpha. You wiped what you could, Caelan corrected. Not what they carry. Elspeth gripped his tunic, struggling to stay upright as silver heat coursed violently through her veins. Who is coming? Men who do not wish me freed, he answered. The third warrior's eyes flicked toward her again. They will see the mark. Let them, Caelan growled. Another horn blast echoed closer. Finian ran to his mother, clutching her skirts. Mama, I'm scared. She knelt despite the dizziness and pulled him into her arms. You stay behind me. Do you hear me? Caelan crouched as well, meeting the boy's gaze. No harm will come to you. Finian stared at his glowing eyes, but did not flinch this time. You promise? I swear it, Caelan said. The cottage shook as hooves thundered outside. The first arrow pierced the wooden door. The warriors turned instantly, bodies shifting subtly, bones thickening, shoulders widening, teeth sharpening. Elspeth felt it. The wildness. It answered something inside her. Stay inside, one warrior urged her. No, she snapped. If they burn this place, my son dies with it. Caelan rose slowly. You will remain behind me. I will remain where I choose, she shot back. For a split second, tension flared between them hotter than the bond. His lips curled slightly, not anger. Recognition. Stubborn witch. Arrogant wolf. Another arrow slammed into the wall. Caelan's patience ended. He strode toward the broken doorway, every inch of him radiating command. Outside, a line of armed Lowland soldiers surrounded the cottage. Torches burned despite the growing daylight. At their center sat Lady Isolde Kerr atop a dark mare, velvet cloak billowing. Well, she called lazily. It seems the beast found shelter. Her gaze fell on Caelan. Recognition dawned slowly. Her smile faded. You, she whispered. Caelan stepped fully into the open. Yes. A ripple of unease passed through the soldiers. You were meant for the mines, Isolde hissed. And you were meant to know your place, he replied coolly. Her gaze slid past him and locked onto Elspeth standing in the doorway behind him. And the witch, she sneered. I suspected you'd meddle. You sold him, Elspeth called back evenly. Fair and square. Isolde laughed sharply. I sold a prisoner, not a king. Murmurs spread through the soldiers. You should have asked his name, Caelan said softly. Isolde's jaw tightened. Seize them. The soldiers surged forward. The world exploded into motion. The three warriors beside Caelan shifted mid-stride, bones cracking as massive wolves burst from human form. Snarls ripped through the air. Screams followed. Caelan did not shift. Not yet. He walked straight toward the advancing line. A soldier swung his blade. Caelan caught the man's wrist and snapped it effortlessly. Another lunged. Caelan slammed him into the mud. Elspeth, he barked. She felt the command in her marrow. The silver inside her surged violently. Two soldiers broke past the wolves and rushed toward the cottage. Finian screamed. Something inside her snapped. Silver light erupted from her hands in a blinding flash. The soldiers froze mid-stride. Not dead. Suspended. Their armor rattled violently as invisible force held them in place. Elspeth stepped forward slowly, breath shaking. You will not touch my son, she said, voice low and trembling with power. The ground beneath the men cracked. They were thrown backward as if struck by a giant's fist. Silence fell for a heartbeat. Even the wolves paused. Caelan turned. He saw her. Not afraid. Not broken. Glowing like a storm forged in silver. His chest tightened. Isolde's face drained of color. She's not just a hedge witch. No, Caelan agreed softly. She is not. More soldiers charged. This time Caelan shifted. The transformation was violent and magnificent. Bones reshaped, muscles tore and reformed. In seconds, a massive black wolf towered over the battlefield, eyes burning molten gold. He moved like lightning. No wasted motion. No mercy. Within moments, the soldiers were retreating, dragging the wounded. Isolde backed her horse away, fury twisting her features. This is not over, she shouted. It never is, Caelan replied, voice now echoing from his wolf's chest before shifting back to human. The horn sounded retreat. The Lowlanders fled. Silence returned slowly, broken only by heavy breathing and the crackle of torches dying in the mud. Elspeth's silver glow flickered erratically. Then she collapsed. Caelan caught her before she hit the ground. Easy, he murmured, holding her against him. Her skin burned under his hands. It hurts, she whispered. I know. The warriors approached cautiously, shifting back into human form. She is powerful, one said quietly. And unstable, another added. Caelan shot them a warning look. She saved you, the first warrior said carefully. And you have bound her. I am aware. She cannot remain here, the third said. The Lowlanders will return in greater number. Caelan looked down at Elspeth cradled in his arms. Her lashes fluttered weakly. Her shoulder mark pulsed brighter than before. The bond grows, he muttered. What does that mean? She asked faintly. It means, he said slowly, if you stay unclaimed before my clan, they will challenge you. Challenge me, she echoed weakly. They will test whether you are worthy of standing beside their sovereign. And if I fail, his jaw tightened, they will demand the bond be severed. Her heart skipped. And what happens then? He met her gaze. It could kill you. Silence thickened. Finian ran forward, grabbing her hand. Mama, don't die. Her chest tightened painfully. She looked at Caelan. You see, she whispered. I cannot be dragged into your wars. You already are, he replied. She closed her eyes briefly. I did not ask to be your mate. I did not ask to be captured, he shot back. Frustration flared between them, then softened. He brushed his thumb gently near the glowing mark without touching it. But I will not let you die for my mistake. Her eyes searched his. Then what do you intend to do, Wolf Sovereign? His voice dropped, low and resolute. I will take you to Clan Drummuir. The warriors exchanged glances. Alpha. I will present her before them, he continued. I will claim her properly. Elspeth's breath hitched. Publicly, he finished. The weight of that word hung heavy. You barely know me, she said quietly. His gaze burned steadily. I know enough. Another distant horn echoed faintly. Not retreating this time. Gathering. We leave now, Caelan ordered. One warrior stepped forward. The path through the northern pass is safest. Elspeth struggled to stand on her own. I am not a burden, she said. Caelan did not argue. But when she swayed, his hand found her waist again. Do not mistake support for weakness, he murmured. She glared faintly. Do not mistake stubbornness for strength. A ghost of a smile flickered across his face. Despite the chaos, despite the war building, despite the bond burning between them, he smiled. And for the first time since the auction block, something warmer than fear stirred in her chest. But the Highlands were watching, and the storm had only just begun. They did not take the main road. Caelan led them through the heather and stone, cutting across ridges only Highland wolves would know. The wind howled harder as clouds rolled thick across the sky. Elspeth walked beside him despite the lingering weakness in her limbs. She refused to be carried. You are pushing yourself, Caelan said quietly without looking at her. And you are ordering me again, she replied. I am not ordering. It sounded like it. His jaw flexed. If you collapse, I will carry you. I will bite you. He glanced sideways at her. A corner of his mouth lifted. You already have. Heat flushed her face. Finian walked between them, holding tightly to her hand. The boy kept glancing up at Caelan with open curiosity, now rather than fear. Will there be more wolves where we're going? Finian asked. Yes, Caelan answered. Big ones. Very. Finian considered this carefully. Will they try to eat us? No, Caelan said firmly. No one touches what is mine. Elspeth shot him a look. Careful, she warned. His gaze met hers. Truth is not carelessness. The bond pulsed. She felt it again. That pull, that invisible thread tightening with every step they took deeper into Highland territory. Behind them, two of Caelan's warriors moved like shadows. Ahead, another scouted. How far, she asked. Before dusk, he replied. And what happens when we arrive? He did not answer immediately. The silence stretched long enough for her to grow irritated. You plan to stand me before your people and announce I am your mate? She pressed. Yes. Without asking me. His steps slowed. He turned fully to face her. The wind whipped his dark hair around his face, but his eyes remained steady. If I do not claim you publicly, he said, voice low and controlled, they will challenge the bond. You said that. They will not challenge me. Then what is the problem? They will challenge you. She went still. How? A ritual contest, he answered. Her stomach dropped. What kind of contest? A trial of strength. Of dominance. Of magic. She stared at him. You expect me to fight wolves? I expect you to survive, he corrected sharply. Anger flared hot in her chest. I did not ask to join your clan. And I did not ask you to buy me, he snapped back. The words hung heavy between them. Finian looked up anxiously. Are you angry? Elspeth forced herself to soften. Not at you. Caelan exhaled slowly, temper leashed. I do not wish to force you into anything, he said more quietly. But if you turn back now, the bond will continue to grow. Unclaimed. Unstable. And what does that mean? She demanded. It means, he said carefully, your magic will spiral again. Stronger than before. She thought of the silver explosion. The cracking earth. The way the soldiers had been thrown like rag dolls. And if I lose control? She asked. His gaze did not waver. Someone could die. Silence settled heavily. Finian squeezed her hand tighter. She looked at her son, then at the mountains rising ahead. You are not dragging me into this, she said finally. I will walk in beside you. Not behind. A slow nod. Beside, he agreed. They resumed walking. Hours later, the forest opened into a wide valley surrounded by steep cliffs. Smoke rose from stone halls built into the rock itself. Banners bearing a silver wolf snapped in the wind. Elspeth stopped. That is your home. Yes. It was not a village. It was a fortress. Figures began emerging from the stone structures as they approached. Men, women, warriors, children, all with the same sharp awareness in their eyes. All with that faint golden glint beneath the surface. The murmurs began instantly. That is him. He lives. Alpha. Then the murmurs shifted. Who is she? She smells different. She carries his mark. Caelan's warriors flanked them, but did not shield her. True to his word. Beside, they entered the center of the valley where a large circular stone platform stood, ancient, carved with Celtic symbols worn smooth by time. An older man stepped forward from the crowd. His hair was streaked with gray, his build still formidable. Caelan, the elder said evenly. Aemon, Caelan replied. Aemon's gaze slid to Elspeth. And this? Elspeth Rowan, Caelan said clearly. She freed me. Gasps rippled. With silver, someone muttered. With courage, Caelan corrected. Aemon stepped closer, studying her carefully. She is not wolf. No. She bears your scent. Yes. Aemon's eyes dropped to her shoulder. The mark pulsed faintly through the fabric of her dress. A sharp inhale swept the crowd. You marked her, Aemon said quietly. In delirium, Caelan replied. But the bond holds. Murmurs intensified. One tall warrior stepped forward, younger, eyes hard. Alpha, this weakens us, he said bluntly. She is not of our blood. Elspeth stiffened. Before Caelan could answer, she stepped forward herself. I am not weak, she said sharply. Several wolves bristled at her tone. The younger warrior's lips curled faintly. You glow like a lantern and nearly collapsed on the journey. Would you prefer I let your king die in chains? She shot back. A murmur of approval rippled unexpectedly through part of the crowd. The warrior's eyes narrowed. You are not one of us. And yet your king chose me, she replied. Caelan's gaze flicked to her. Not chosen. Claimed. But he did not correct her. The younger warrior stepped closer. Then prove you deserve to stand here. A low growl rumbled from Caelan's chest. You forget yourself, Torrin, he warned. I do not challenge you, Alpha, Torrin said evenly. I challenge her. The air thickened. Aemon watched carefully, but did not intervene. Elspeth felt the bond flare violently. Her veins warmed. What does that challenge require? She asked. Torrin's eyes glinted. Step onto the stone. The circular platform seemed to hum faintly. She looked at Caelan. If you step up there, he said quietly, the stone will test your magic. And if I refuse, they will doubt you forever. She inhaled slowly. Finian tugged her sleeve. Mama, don't. She knelt quickly, brushing his hair back. I must. Caelan crouched as well. If it becomes too much, I will stop it. Will you? She asked softly. His eyes burned. Yes. She searched his face. Not dominance. Not arrogance. Concern. She stood and stepped onto the stone. The symbols beneath her feet flared faintly. A collective inhale swept the valley. Torrin followed her onto the platform, shifting slightly, not fully wolf, but enough that his presence loomed. Show us, he said. The stone vibrated under her boots. Silver light flickered at her fingertips. The mark on her shoulder burned hot. The entire clan watched. She swallowed hard and let the magic rise. The moment she stopped holding it back, the stone answered. Silver light burst from beneath her boots, racing along the carved Celtic symbols in jagged veins. Gasps rippled through the gathered clan as the platform pulsed like a living heart. Torrin staggered half a step, not from fear, but from force. Enough, Caelan warned lowly. It has barely begun, Torrin replied, though his voice strained. Elspeth's breath came fast. The magic did not feel wild this time. It felt focused, intentional. It rose through her like a tide answering the moon. The stone grew brighter, then hotter. Torrin's eyes flared gold as he shifted further, claws extending. Control it, he snapped, or it will control you. She lifted her chin. It already tried. The mark on her shoulder ignited fully, blazing silver through the fabric of her dress. A collective gasp spread across the valley. Caelan stepped forward instinctively, but Eamon held out a hand. Wait! The stone flared blinding white. Torrin lunged, not to attack, to test. He drove his palm toward her shoulder, aiming for the mark. The bond reacted before she could think. A shockwave exploded outward. Torrin was thrown off the platform entirely, slamming into the dirt several feet away. Silence crashed down. Even the wind seemed to pause. Elspeth swayed, but did not fall. Her silver light dimmed slowly, settling into a steady glow rather than violent bursts. She stood alone at the center of the stone, breathing, alive. Torrin pushed himself up slowly, staring at her with stunned disbelief. You did not lose control, he said hoarsely. No, she replied. Eamon stepped forward carefully, eyes sharp with something new, not suspicion. Respect. The stone does not reject her, the elder announced. Murmurs spread again, but they were different now. She held it. She did not burn. She pushed Torrin back. Caelan's chest expanded slowly as he walked toward the platform. His gaze never left Elspeth. Enough testing, he said firmly. Torrin bowed his head slightly. I concede. Elspeth's knees finally trembled. Caelan reached her in 2 strides and caught her before she fell. You stood, he murmured close to her ear. You doubted I would, she whispered back. Never, he said. And she believed him. He turned with her still in his arms, facing the gathered clan. You have seen her power, Caelan declared, voice ringing across the valley. You have witnessed the bond. The wolves stood silent. I was taken in chains, he continued. Sold like cattle in Lowland filth. She spent her last silver to free me. Shock rippled again. She healed me when I should have died. She shielded her child and my warriors from soldiers without hesitation. Elspeth looked at him, surprised. You ask whether she weakens us, he went on, gaze locking onto Torrin briefly. I say she strengthens us. He stepped forward to the edge of the platform. By Fong and by fate, he said, voice deepening. I claim Elspeth Rowan as my bound mate. Not by fever, not by accident. He turned to face her fully, but by choice. The word hit her harder than the bond ever had. Caelan, she began softly. He cupped her face gently, not possessive, not commanding, intentional. Do you stand beside me willingly? He asked quietly, for her ears alone. The entire clan watched. Her heart pounded. She thought of the auction block, the chains, the bite, the silver fire, the way he had stepped between her and the soldiers without hesitation, the way he had not forced her behind him. She inhaled slowly. I stand beside you, she said clearly. His eyes flared gold, not feral, proud. He lowered his head and pressed his lips to the mark on her shoulder, sealing the bond consciously. The silver glow surged one final time, then steadied completely. The wind shifted. A deep, resonant howl rose from Caelan's chest. One by one, the clan joined him. The sound rolled across the Highlands like thunder. Elspeth felt the vibration in her bones, not as an outsider, but as something woven into it. When the howls faded, Eamon stepped forward and bowed his head. Welcome, Sovereign's mate. One by one, the clan followed, not kneeling, but bowing. Elspeth swallowed hard. She had arrived as a witch in hiding. Now she stood in the center of a wolf kingdom. Finian ran forward and wrapped his arms around her waist. Does this mean we stay? He asked. She looked at Caelan. He met her gaze. You choose, he said simply. No command. No pressure. Choice. She looked at the valley, at the wolves watching, at the mountains rising protectively around them. Then she looked at her son. Yes, she said softly. We stay. A ripple of approval spread, but it did not last. A scout burst through the outer ring of warriors, breathless. Alpha. Caelan's posture shifted instantly. Speak. The Lowlanders gather at the southern pass. Not a hunting party. How many? More than 50. And banners we do not recognize. Murmurs sharpened into tension. Torrin's expression darkened. They bring allies. Aemon frowned. This is retaliation. Caelan's jaw hardened. They move faster than expected. Elspeth felt the bond tighten slightly, reacting to his rising intensity. You knew this was coming, she said quietly. Yes. And you still brought me here. Yes. She searched his face. You trust me that much? I trust the storm that stands on that stone, he replied. A flicker of something fierce sparked in her chest. Torrin stepped forward again. Alpha, we fortify. We do more than fortify, Caelan corrected. He turned slowly, addressing the clan. They believe chains weaken us, he called out. They believe auction blocks break kings. A low growl rolled through the wolves. They believe witches are fragile. Silver light shimmered faintly at Elspeth's fingertips. Caelan's gaze swept across his people. Let them come. The growl turned into something louder. Darker. United. Elspeth stepped beside him fully now. Then we prepare, she said. Torrin looked at her carefully. You will fight. She met his gaze evenly. If they step near my child, I will do far worse than fight. A slow grin spread across Torrin's face. Good, he said. Caelan glanced down at her, something unreadable in his eyes. You are certain? He asked softly. She nodded. I did not buy you to watch you fall again. The faintest hint of laughter escaped him. You did not buy me, he murmured. You chose me. Her lips curved slightly. Then let us make sure they regret selling you. The horns sounded again in the distance. Closer this time. War had reached the Highlands. And this time, the witch did not stand alone. If you're still with this story and feeling the tension rise, don't forget to like the video so more romantasy lovers can find it. And tell me in the comments, would you have stepped onto the stone? Because the next battle would decide far more than territory. It would decide whether the witch who bought the wolf sovereign would become the power that reshaped the Highlands forever,